Moses came to Pharaoh and looked upon him and said, the God of the Hebrews have sent me. Do you know who Pharaoh is? He was the strongest king at the time, using iron chariots. That was like the biggest technology. It's like functioning now with all these all these missiles, these very volatile weapons that some of the biggest nations of the world are using now. And you walk up to that kind of king, you say, the God of the Hebrews sent me. Let my people go. Are you joking? Egypt depended on these people to slave for them. And they say, who is your God? How dare you? I'm the only God here, sir. Who is your God that you obey him? Moses knew he wasn't looking for language. He dropped his rod. He told Aaron, drop your rod. And the rod became a serpent. His people thought they too could do it. They dropped their own. And Aaron's rod swallowed their own. You know what he did? He stripped their wise men of the authority. Because the authority was a function of rod. He collected their mantle. Before we start talking, let me take your authority from you. You have no right to speak when I'm standing. And when Moses was done, he looked at Pharaoh and said, you won't see me again. Really? It should be an honor for you to see me. Who are you to tell me I won't see you again? In my own land. The guy had a rank that was superior to Pharaoh. That's a son. That's a son. See, if our priesthood is failing, we are robbing ourselves of the glory that God has given to us. When three of us come into a land, the land will shake. That strangers have come. Ambassadors, emissaries, people have been sent from another civilization. Do you know what happens? If beings come to this world from another realm, the whole place will be shut down. Meanwhile, we come from the celestial dimension. We are agents of heaven. How come we are here as if nobody came? Because the priesthood is dead. Now we are the ones looking for opportunity to see the people that we should give laws. Because the priesthood is dead. Strange men have walked here. We have the heritage. And the Bible said the things that were written. Romans 15 verse 4 said they were written for our learning, so that we through patience and comfort of the scripture might have hope. So when you read about Elijah, when you read about Moses, it gives you an idea of the heritage, the family you belong to. That these are men of wonders and they shook nations as individuals. So that you will be dissatisfied with where you are. That's why they were chronicled. To let you know that you come from a heritage. And these are the dimensions that are obtainable in that heritage. Priesthood. Let me show you a bit about priesthood before I show you the dimensions you assume as your priesthood is activated. You know, priesthood is not just praying and praying loud. It's a technology in the spirit of bringing you to a point of wielding authority. When God instituted priesthood, the goal was to bring us to a place where we can wield celestial authority. Because there are many authorities we can function in. But the highest authority, which is God's authority, is what God has made available to us. But it will take only priesthood for us to enter that level of authority. That's why in the Old Testament, even atonement is carried out by priests. That a man can have authority with God and tell God, show mercy and forgive these people for 1 year. And God will hearken to it because of the technology of priesthood. When they showed up with incense. When the guy comes before the altar of incense, he releases so much incense that the mercy seat is already saturated. So the Shekinah cannot hold itself but appear. So the priest had the technology of invoking God from his throne with incense. He enters there and he's just releasing incense. A point comes, the place, the Shekinah will appear. And when the Shekinah appears, he pours blood on the mercy seat. And when God looks at the blood, even though he came with judgment, he's appeased. That's the level of authority priests were wielding. So priesthood is not just praying loud and feeling satisfied. That's parasitism. Priesthood is the ability to wield the powers of the ages to come. And it's those powers that will give us authority to take over territory. We must understand the priesthood required to bring UK to the feet of the cross. We must understand the priesthood required to bring Great Britain to the feet of the cross. To bring United Kingdom to the feet of the cross. It's beyond church service. Wise men must rise from among us. Church is not just a religious environment. It's a school. It's a gate. Like a Senate chamber. And it's also a warfare ground. We fight here and things happen in territories. We train people here. We send them into government. Send them into media. And they have skills that are not taught in the university. But taught from Zion. So when you journey into the Holy of Holies, something happens to you. And there are 5 badges I want to talk about in the next 10 minutes as we begin to pray. When you enter there and come out, the first one, they are in no particular order. But one of the things that will happen is that you will become the burning ones. Those are the kind of people that God sends into territories. The burning ones. You know, Isaiah was prophesying. He thought it was about calling people's names and phone number, and it was not affecting the territory. You are wearing a black singlet, but the territory is dark. Your balance in the account is 2,000 pounds. The territory is dark. It's beyond manifesting the prophetic. What is the texture of your uniform? So when it came to the Holy of Holies in Isaiah chapter 6, it said, the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord. He had been brought into another college. He said his train filled the temple. And suddenly he began to see the burning ones of heaven. And they were crying, holy, holy. A new civilization entirely is the Lord. The moment he heard those readings, nobody attacked him. The guy began to curse himself. This is a national prophet, but he didn't have a stand in the courts of heaven. Do you not see why? Although we have people, apostles, prophets, bishops, but there's no stand. How can we take territory? When Elijah came to the king, he didn't say, I'm Prophet Elijah. We are not looking for titles. The Bible said Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said to the king, before God whom I stand, there shall be no rain or dew. So you talk based on where you are standing. This guy showed up. He had no place in the assembly. He said, woe unto me. He cursed himself, a prophet. He said, I'm a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among a people of unclean lips. And they told him, don't worry, where you have come is where warriors are made. And they said, one of the seraphims took the coals of fire and touched his lip and said, your iniquity have passed. Otherwise you'll be there, they'll be looking for who to send. You will not be a candidate. Because the guy was standing. They said, who shall go for us? I'm here, I came from earth. How can you be looking for who will go to earth? I came from earth. You are not sent because you came from there. You are sent because you have a badge of fire, the burning ones. If you don't burn, you can't take any territory. When territories are apportioned, they look for sons of fire, men who carry the flames. That's why I said he maketh his angels spirits, but his ministers, the ones he sends to territories, he said those ones, they are a flame of fire. And I showed you the intelligence with which spiritual cities are built yesterday. I said principalities come first. The word principality is alke. It means first in rank. They are the ones who show up first, and their duty is mapping. When they map the territory, they create spiritual systems that enslave people. And so I showed you yesterday that all of us have different graces. Those who are prophetic, who have ability to see into the spirit realm, their emotional frequencies are also high. And so there is a high tendency of seduction. So when principalities come and they survey a territory and they map a territory, they are looking for those who are prophetic. The moment they find them, they create a unique temptation for them around seduction. And the ones that fall, those ones become the quorum that gives them access into the territory. When they come into a territory, they look for those who are bold and courageous. They know these ones have leadership capacity. They create a unique temptation around pride and ego. And when they fall, they create a quorum. Because the heavens belong to God, but the earth belongs to the sons of men. And so they must need the permission of men to enter the territory. But they will need men who are stakeholders. But that is the intelligence of principalities. When they show up and find such men, they will have stake in the territory. The moment that assignment is done, they step back and the powers come. The word powers is the word exousia. They have the authority to bind men to the addictions that are formed. So those men can't pull out. You know, you can start watching pornography and you say you stumbled on it. It's when you want to stop, you now discover you are a slave. You can start smoking and you say, I went to a party, they just said we should. It's when you want to stop, you now discover that what you started with your will take warfare to come out. Because a principality lured you, a power has bound you. If you can't fight, you can't come out. And this is the undoing of men. They think the things they are doing because they like them. You are not doing what you are doing because you like it. You are doing what you are doing because you are lured and you are enslaved in doing it. It's when you want to come out, you discover your will has been subjugated. Because there is a superior intelligence walking above this cloud that you are not aware of. And when you continue like that, then spiritual wickedness show up. The word spiritual wickedness is cosmos kratos. Their work is that they are magistrates. What they do is that they write laws. So a point comes when too many people are addicted to the same thing, it becomes a culture in that place. So even if principalities don't come back again, if you come to that territory, you will pick that habit. That's why most of you were living righteous in one location. You relocated to another place and you discover you started having certain temptation. It's a culture, it's a law in that atmosphere. And so when you come there, if your priesthood is not higher than that cloud, you will fall. Give it time. I've seen many virgins who went to territories and they became prostitutes. Not because they wanted to, because they came to a territory where there's a law. You know, you can't enter a territory unless you obey the law. When I was coming, they held us at immigration. Bring your passport, bring this. You enter when you are aligned with the law. The law is the clearance. And so if you come into a territory where a ruler has entered, you will need a priesthood that is strong to undermine what that ruler is doing. All of these are the protocols of accessing the territory before you take it. And that's why only people who have stature can talk about territorial takeover. When we're talking territory, we are not talking to babes. A babe can come because he needs healing, he needs breakthrough, he needs prophecy. Those are not the category of people we are talking to in this conference. We are talking to men who are angry. They want to possess lands. Lord, give me Manchester. Lord, give me Liverpool. Lord, give me. Those are the kind of people we are talking to. They've gone past the level of I want. They are asking what is in the heart of God. I see a contention in Manchester. There is a spirit trying to take over. I see a contention in London. I come as an agent of Zion. I will fight the battles of Elohim. Those are the kind of men we are talking about tonight. Because magistrates have come. You are not aware. Some of them came 200 years. You came to London 20 years ago. You are not yet old in the land, sir. There are laws that have entered this territory before you came. The moment you showed up, you were mapped out before you came. And you must have a priesthood that is higher than the realm where those princes of darkness went to for you to survive the land. He said he giveth power to the faint, and unto them that have no might he increases strength. He now began to do a comparison. He said even the youth shall faint. In case you think we are young people so we are the ones to fight, he said the youth will faint. He said the young men shall utterly fall, because this is a race with spirits. It's not a race among men, so your youthful energy is not a factor. He said but in case you want to build the kind of energy that gives you an advantage in this battle, he said they that wait upon the Lord, they mount up with wings as the eagles. He said when they run, they are not weary. When they walk, they don't faint. So the stamina you build is in waiting. And what is waiting? Waiting is the ability to suspend your propensities and focus on God until he fills you with his dimension. It's like the job of a waiter in an eatery. When a waiter comes to an eatery, his focus is on those who will place order. He just stands there. Any sign, he shows up. What do you need? And he services it. That's the job of a waiter. So if you are still praying and you are thinking house rent, be praying. You can be a prayer warrior, but priesthood have not started. If you are still praying and you are mindful of that brother who spoke about you or what they said on the internet, you have not tested priesthood. If you are still praying and you are thinking, what will I eat? That what you are doing is called prayer, and you can be a prayer warrior. But when you become a priest, you must come to a point where your spirit is silent. Because at that point, only the signals of God can come to you. And you will know that you are growing in priesthood if you can elongate the duration of silence. Some of us can pray for 4 hours to be silent for 10 seconds. I'm telling you, that's how difficult it is. Some of us will need to pray for 1 month to start learning to be silent for 5 minutes. You come to that place where everything in you is still. And it's in that place of stillness that you will know that is God. That's where the power of salvation is released. But you see, it's a journey in the spirit. It's a journey. See, there are, when you start learning these things, sometimes there are agencies that help you. You can carry a worship song and you are playing it at the background. You can be playing a chant at the background. You can be praying prayer at the background. All of that is to help you ascend fast. But you see, those things will help you to a level. You must labor in the spirit to silence your flesh. Paul said, I beat my body. I bring it under subjection. I beat it. I beat it. So priesthood is the act of quieting your spirit so that God can talk to you. That's where people like David knew how to enter. And David says, the Lord speaks once, I hear twice. That power belongs to God. When your spirit becomes quiet, every signal from heaven, you pick it in microseconds. When you get to that level, you are beginning to grow in priesthood. You must mirror God. You must image God. And imaging God is labor in the spirit. He said, for we all with open faces, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, we are changed. So if you don't pay the price to behold, you can't be changed. And you will be there for a long time to be able to behold. That's where priesthood comes into the equation. We all with open faces, beholding. It takes a lot of distraction will come. Oh my God. There are times when you start this work and all your helpers will forget you. Because the spirit will do everything to make sure you are distracted. The people who on their own decided to help you, they will go and whisper to them that you don't deserve help. They will pick offense when you did nothing, so that you will leave the altar and start looking for people. If you are a son, you will stand there. You will stand there. I must be transfigured. Nothing will move me from my ground. I came by prayer, and I will stay in prayer. You will stand there, because every distraction is a denaturing protocol. It will alter the frequency. But see, there are downloads that we can't break. So you won't leave the place of network. Hunger won't make you live there. Quarrel won't make you live there. Distraction won't make you, because it's a transfiguration. An egg is about to become a butterfly. You can't stop on the way. The protocol of metamorphosis must be completed. We all with open faces. Beholding is the emergence of sons as in a glass, the glory of the Lord. You know, some of you began to behold 4 years ago. You stopped because of marriage, because of job. Those are legitimate concerns, but spirits can use them to truncate beholding. You don't know these beings are intelligent. See the territory you came into. You walk from morning till night and night till morning. At the end of the month, you don't know where the money went to. Bees will swallow them. And you don't think it's an intelligence. A friend came from Africa. He is now earning 10 times what he was earning in Africa, but he was saving more in Africa than he's saving here. Meanwhile, the danger is that everybody from Africa is now calling him, help us, help us. They assume that because he came to England, he's wealthy. I say, advise them. It's a different system altogether. There's an intelligence governing this place. He wants to suck your energy, seize your time, so that if they talk to you about God, you will think even God is a distraction. The idea is for you not to behold. And if you don't fight it, after 10 years you become an alien. Even you will know that this is not the you that came into the land. You will discover that you have become a different creature, and the ways of God will become alien to you. Because there's an intelligence in the land. A son images God. A son follows the voice of the Spirit. A son, number 3, endures the chastening of the Lord. In Hebrews 12 verse 6 to 8, it says, if we are sons, we endure. We have the capacity, the fortitude to endure the chastening of the Lord. He said, if we don't do that, we are bastards. And there are many Christians that are bastards, because the moment God chastises them, they are gone. They want to be pampered. Only children are looking for pampering. When you are not a son, you pray and God does not answer. You say, if God is real, why didn't he answer this prayer? You are joking. If he wants to train you, there are days when he will hide himself, and you will seek him for months, and he will be quiet. But you will come to a point where you and God will know that your seeking him is beyond the answer. It's for who? It's for him. It's for him. Because there is a dimension of God called Zephaniah, the God that hides himself. But there are sons who can find God even in the dark. In Exodus 20:21, it says Moses stepped into the deep darkness where God was. So even when God hides himself, there are men who knows the pathways of darkness. They will seek him until they find the oracle that dwells in the midst of the coast of fire. Because for them, nothing is prized enough. Only the presence of God matters. And that's why when God told Moses, I won't go with you, he said, we will not live here. We are willing to sacrifice every ambition. Your presence is our trophy. If your presence does not go with us, there's no promised land to seek. Because we are not after you for bread and butter. We are after you for you. And so the greatest punishment God gives to sons is that he withdraws himself. When God withdraws himself, you lose your peace. You can shut down everything until you find him. When he discovers you have come to that point, then he opens his oracles to you. That is when you can carry government. Because at this point, even if God is to use you as a ransom, you will obey. Because he said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It was not his will, but he has become a son. In Gethsemane, he said, Father, if it were possible, let this cup pass me by. He said, yet not my will, but thine. That one has been taught. He learned obedience through the things that he suffered. Everybody who has gone there came out with a badge. You can never be the same. I'm telling you, you don't go there and come out the same. Something must change about you that your generation will take note of. That badge is what puts us into our rank. Because the army has a structure, but there's an alignment pattern. You must align to your own quorum. You must align to your own tribe. Because this is a game of quorums. And you cannot come except as your number. Don't you see that even physical soldiers have ranking? There is the Navy, there is the Air Force, and there's the Army. You don't just come and say, I'm a soldier. Which rank? Which order? There's a rank and file. Because the battle is not haphazard. It's not a chaotic battle where somebody is throwing stones. No. There's an order. There are those who are trained to be flexible in the air. When they get into the air, they become like the eagles. So they fight from up. There are others who are good in the waters. When they enter the sea, they become like the fish. They attack you with ferocious attack like sharks and whales. And there are those who are on ground. Some of them are like lions, others are like gazelles. They can come with a boldness that you will marvel, who are these ones? There are others that they have stability and stealth. They can follow a narrow path until they give you a gorilla attack. You'll be taken unawares. All of that is a function of the skills they were taught on the altar. It is the Lord that teaches my hands to fight and my fingers to war. When you get to the college, you know, I was telling them before we came here, I said we think church is religious gathering. That's why we are weak. This thing is not just religious gathering. This is also a school of the spirit where men are taught. This is also a gate where senators, representatives of territories gather so that we can proclaim laws that will shape lands. 2 Samuel 5 verse 6 to 10. David told them, the Jebusites have taken over this land. How can we take it? Anybody who can take it, I'll make him my general. And Joab said, I will. There was no way to access the city. They went to look for water tunnel and infiltrated the city through the water tunnel and fought from within. That was how they conquered Jerusalem, and it became the city of David. We need wise men that God can give divine strategies. This land is too old for your brain. The architecture for the things you are seeing now, some of them have been on ground for more than 800 years. It will take wisdom from spirits that are older to tell you what to do to affect the souls of men in this territory. We need wise men. If wise men don't show up, taking territories will be a forgotten issue. Because ministering to the Lord is not just about coming to sing a song that an anointed person sang and people are excited. It's when you come to a place where your spirit begins to call God who he is. So it's the revelation of God that has happened to your spirit that begins to break out of you like a river. And when that revelation begins to break out, it comes with gratitude, it comes with reverence, it comes with honor, it comes with thanksgiving. That's what the 24 elders were doing in Revelation chapter 4 verse 11. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord. Blessed is the Lord God of power and might. He said all things were created for thy pleasure. You begin to call God and talk to God from the place of his being and his majesty. Now, the things you will call God and the utterance that will be given to you, you will know you didn't read it. It will be a river breaking out of you. But you see, that level of intimacy has not been cultivated by a generation. And so, most of us, when we come to God, we don't even know what to say. And even when we are speaking in tongues, we are distracted, just talking. Because if priesthood begins, the fear of God will arrest you. Because you will see his majesty and it will bet reverence. It will bet honor. And you will see his loving kindness and it will bet gratitude. It's your encounter with his majesty and his loving kindness that activates ministering to the Lord. So you can just be there for 1 hour. Sometimes you are weeping. You are not even talking because of the awe that comes upon you. But God reads that reverence as incense ascending from your spirit. If we will have power, we must journey to a point where our spirit begins to worship, not just our lips. That's what Jesus spoke about when he said the Father is seeking true worshippers. And he said true worshippers, they worship in spirit and in truth. Listen, there's a knowledge of God that is not in your brain, it's in your spirit man. Because when you were born again, God encountered your spirit. He said him that is joined to the Lord is one spirit. When you start engaging priesthood, what will happen is that your spirit will connect to your mind. And that which you know by encounter, by intimacy, is what will come out of your spirit. When you journey to that level, you will see that the powers of heaven will start beginning to be released to you. But sometimes it takes a lot of quieting. Sometimes it takes a lot of days of separation. Sometimes it takes a lot of labor of being alone in silence. And that's what we can't pay for. Why do you think the elders of old function? You think Moses just showed up and said, Pharaoh, let my people go? Go and find out the labor in prayer. Some of these men go up and they are there for 40 days. By the time they are coming down, they strip themselves of everything. Only God fills their vessel. Now, I'm not saying you should leave your job. But I'm saying you can train your spirit in a way that even when you're on your job, your focus is still on God. Because you won't stop until something about God that you didn't read begins to break out of your spirit. That's what the elders knew. That's the labor of priesthood. If priesthood will be genuine, your spirit must praise God. Because you would have encountered his majesty, betting reverence, and you must have encountered his loving kindness, betting true gratitude to God. But we can't journey that far, and that's why we are shallow. Even our services today, the moment it exceeds 2 hours, everybody is tired. Because there's no stamina. What is the color of your garment? Some of us wear light, others wear fire, and others wear the robes of righteousness. But by all means, we must all be decorated, because the era that we are coming to, we need those who have capacity in the spirit. Oh, there's a war going on. Our rank cannot be depleted. And this is why God has brought us here, so that after this conference, we will be commissioned. Because when we talk about territories, we are not just looking at physical geography. Because every physical geography has a spiritual city that regulates it. If you come to the UK, most of you don't know that there's a Babylonian texture here. And there's also a Roman texture here. When you see people gather in stadia, watching football, and football has become a god, it is traced to Rome. In the days of the gladiators, that's where the arena, the game of arena began from. And so if you find anywhere that there's arena and people gather, others are performing, and they forget about their sorrows, not because they encounter God. Know that there's a spirit behind that civilization. And so you can go there and watch a match. It's good. It even has a therapeutic effect. It has a medical advantage. But over and above that, there's a spiritual undertone. And if wise men don't rise to guard the atmosphere, many souls will be lost. And so every territory has spiritual cities that regulate them. And some cities enslave like Egypt. Some cities corrupt like Babylon. And some cities create idolatrous systems like Rome. But for those of us who are agents of the kingdom, we must insist that only Zion will rule us. Because in Hebrews chapter 12 verse 22, it says, you have come to Mount Zion, the city of the living God, to an innumerable company of angels. It is called the heavenly Jerusalem. That is where our signals will come from. Jerusalem, that is a heaven. It's a command tower. And so when you find the sun operate, it's because they are signals. Those signals are the things that empower him as an agent of transformation on the face of the earth. But if he doesn't connect to that city, the other cities that will rule him. And every territory sustains these two dimensions. There's a spiritual dimension and there's a physical dimension. The civilizations we find on earth are product of signals that comes from spirit cities. And so every agent of transformation, every territory taker must have that level of understanding and refuse to be enslaved by spirit cities that are built from the demonic realm. You must rebel against it and submit to the one that comes from heaven if you will be a leader or a territory taker. Now, when you understand cities, then you also know that every city has rulers. Because the moment you begin to rebel against those cities, you have declared war. They will come for you. Unless you are not a relevant entity in the equation. If you become an agent that advocates for Zion on the face of the earth, it means you are trying to uproot another city. And the rulers will come for you. And we studied from Ephesians chapter 6 that these rulers are a well-structured spiritual organization. It's not a disoriented government. It's a government that is well intelligent and well structured. And we said they are in their order, from principalities to powers to rulers of the darkness of this world and to spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. Every time you want to bring Zion, these beings will fight you. These are the things that define the burning ones. But you see, every priest who burns, there is a law, or there are 3 laws they obey. Number 1, you must make yourself the sacrifice. If you don't see yourself as the sacrifice, you will never burn, because the flame only falls on the sacrifice. Leviticus 9:22-24. The moment they put the sacrifice on the altar, the fire of God fell upon it. So no selfish person can be a priest. When you go there, the law they will teach you is that selfishness must die. Only those who become sacrificed will carry the flame. Number 2, what makes fire fall is unity and oneness. You must see everybody as your brother and your sister, as part of the same body. Because when they were together in one accord, in Acts 2 verse 1, suddenly they heard a sound as of a rushing mighty wind. Cloven tongues as of fire fell upon them. Why do you think the devil is making us fight ourselves? Sometimes you come to a small fellowship or even a department. You say choir department. There are 12, 6 are keeping malice. And we are talking fire to take territory. It can't work. For the fire to fall, we must become one. Because unity is a sign of brokenness. The Bible said in Proverbs 13:10, It says every contention is a result of pride. So when people can't unite, it means they are proud. It means they are not broken. And God can't allow fire fall upon them. So you must, number one, become selfless. Because only sacrifices carry the fire. Number two, we must sustain unity. And number three, we must respond to the demand of the season. In Joel chapter 2, from verse 28, when the fire fell, it fell because God was opening a new season. And that was why in Acts chapter 2, when the fire fell, from verse 16, Peter said, this is what Joel spoke about. This is the last days. So a season has opened. If you want the fire to fall upon you, you must respond to the season that God is bringing you into. Jesus, the fire came upon him because the time came for him to go into ministry. And he came to John, he said, suffer it to be so for now. Thus it becometh us to fulfill all righteousness. The moment he was baptized, coming out of the water, the Holy Ghost fell. Most of you who are hearing me now, God is opening and bringing you into a new season, but you are resisting it. You have gotten a job, but God is saying, I want you to join missions. And you say, Lord, I did this interview 20 times. This is the first month I'm doing this job. I can't leave now. Now, there's nothing wrong. There's such a thing called acceptable will of God. There's such a thing called perfect will. You can go in the line of the acceptable will. You still have a good life, but you'll not be part of God's army. You'll not be part of God's army. Oh, there's this young man that you appreciated. Now you are becoming friends. God is now telling you, you will marry somebody else. You say, Father, this is the portrait of husband as far as I'm concerned. It's either this one or never. And you will trouble God in prayer for 3 months. He will now say, okay, since this is what you want, go ahead, I will bless it. And he will bless it, but that is acceptable way. You will be shocked that as you get married, your fire will die. Because the fire is for kingdom advancement. It's not for excitement. And you have chosen a path that is not consistent with God's kingdom agenda. If you want to be on fire, you must respond to the season. But you see, these things are not a challenge for those who have entered there. If your priesthood have taken you there, being sacrificial will not be, is normal. Surrendering to demands of seasons is normal. You will yield to it and you will carry the flames that will deliver a generation. Don't you know some pastors came from Africa, now they are sending no Poroko here. They were priests in Africa, but when they came to London, they showed them the texture of the pounds. And they started converting pounds in their head. 1 pound is equal to 200, is equal to 1,800 naira. And when they went to sleep, is 1 is to 1,800. 1 is to 1,800. After 3 months, they discover Sunday is the only opportunity they have. So now that they can't keep 5 shifts in the week anymore, they should take advantage of Sunday. And pastor is in a kiosk. He's selling Nigerian product. Oporoko is here. Crayfish is here. Ogbono is here. Meanwhile, this was a prophet from Africa. He could enter the third heaven and bring the counsel of God. What happened? He has come into a territory. Laws have been written. Before he came here, the law that was written is that if you cross the Atlantic, your soul must long for pounds. He didn't know. But you see, the way God works is that if you follow God's counsel, all the things the Gentiles seek will be added to you. It's the seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness, all these things. But it's in Zion they will teach your soul. You may have read it theologically, but your soul cannot interact with that knowledge except as you are sent. When you are sent into the realms of light, then they will speak into your soul. When they speak to your soul, you have gravity. No matter what they do in the territory, it can no longer affect you. But the danger of coming under those laws is that there are spiritual wickedness. They came after the rulers. The word is poneria. They are the ones who afflict men. When you follow the journey for a long time, you discover that there's a way that seemeth right unto men. The end is destruction. And so when we want to reclaim territories, it's warfare. It's contention. It's a battle. And this battle is not just with men. It's with gods. It's with princes in the spirit realm. The soldiers are many times more disciplined than us. At the level of a recruit, a sentry officer can stand for 6 hours without shaking. Even he knows he won't shake. And as he stands on that watch, no matter what happens, he'll be there. For those 6 hours, let God help him to say he wants to use toilet. Use convenience, lavatory. Which language are you speaking? Leave your guard and see what happens to you. He knows how to discipline his body to stand there. That's a recruit. And you are here, a priest of God, a king who God is trusting to take UK, and you can't stay with him. Jesus looked at his disciples. He said, you have been around me for this long. Do you think it's by being around? He said, you can't watch with me for 1 hour. He said, pray that you fall not into temptation. Because if you are this weak, you must fall. He went and came back. They were sleeping. You mean you can't stay for 1 hour? And he did it 3 times. That means Jesus' normal shot of prayer is 3 hours. It takes 3 units of prayer for normal prayer. And I'm not preaching time. I'm just telling you where you must get to for something to awaken on your spirit man. In this earth, we have seen men that spoke to the constellations. Joshua said, let the sun remain upon the mountains of Ajalon. Let the moon remain upon the valley of Gibeon. And he said the sun did not make haste to go down. In the day that God hearkened to the voice of a man. One man spoke. He didn't plan it. But they were fighting to take over territories. And he saw that darkness was coming. And darkness was not an advantage. And without any premeditation, he didn't call the whole church for vigil. He stood in the public, because sons are spectacles. When God wants to manifest his glory, he raises sons. The guy stood like a show horse. And he said, son, stand there. How dare you talk to the constellation? Where did you read it? Who told you that men can talk to the galaxies? But it's a son. He has ascended somewhere in priesthood, and he knows that these things happen. We have sons who gave commandments to kings. When Daniel showed up before the king, there was no protocol. He was not moved by whatever the king was called. He said, your father, God gave him a kingdom that was broader, bigger than the whole earth. And you came, you choose to worship the God of iron. He said, this is why this hand has come. Who talks to a king like that? Mene, takeover. He said, you have been weighed on the balances. Where did you go to? Who told you that they weigh men? And he said, tonight your kingdom shall be divided among the Medes and the Persians. A man spoke, and his words became laws. And that's it. Don't you think when the king heard it, he would have created every strategy to make it not to happen? But all of his intelligence became futile, because a prince spoke from the courts of heaven. You have been weighed. I went to where your judgment was passed. You are the one who is not aware. This handwriting that came is a language of an aeon. I traveled there. He had a priesthood that was alive. Jeremiah 33 verse 3, he said, ask of me, I will answer. He said, but I will show you great and mighty things that you know not of. And the goal of showing you is not to tell you things to come and say. It's to show you things that will change your shape, so that you assume. Because honestly, those who fight, you know that you and your weapon must be one. That's how the spirit realm works. The weapon you use, you and that weapon become one. When they say Eleazar, the son of Dodo, held a spear and slew 800 men, the word Eleazar is a spear. The guy and his weapon became one. So God shows you things that shapes you into the weapon, because you must become God's battle axe. But for you to be altered into the weapon dimension, you must behold. So when you ask, when you pray, he doesn't just answer. He brings you to deeper spheres when he begins to show you great and mighty things that you do not know of. That's why in 1 John chapter 3, he said, what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. He now went further to say, it does not yet appear what we shall be like. You are called the son of God, but it does not yet appear what we shall be like. He said, when we shall see him, then we shall be like him. So it's those who behold that become. You may have the legality in doctrine, but you must behold to become. And so everybody who God is using to subdue territories knows the encounters they had, because that is what shaped them into the dimensions that was able to take those territories. And all of these are the powers of sons. That's why when you find anybody who has become a son, his weight is the weight of his consecration on the altar. Sons are not talkers, they are priests. We stay on the altar, fight, subdue the flesh until we navigate with God. We minister to him, we wait upon him, we behold him. Now when you move from the level of beholding, then you are summoned into participation. You know, there are times when you see, then they tell you, come up hither. When they now begin to summon you, know that you are about to enter your inheritances. They say, I, John, I was in the spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard a sound as of a trumpet. And as I turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. So you begin from beholding, and the angel began to interpret the meaning of the lampstand. In fact, he even saw Jesus himself walking in between the candles. And Jesus introduced himself to him, I am Alpha Omega. That's why you are educated on the ways of God. When you come up hither, that's when they show you the mysteries of God. That's when you return as a warrior for your generation. When he saw, he said, at some point he said, I heard the voice of the 7 thunders. I wanted to write. They said, no, this one is not for the earth. This one is only for those who can come this far. Because when you hear this one, you go back to earth as a messenger from Zion. I heard the voice. Even Paul went there. I know a man many years ago. Whether he was in the flesh or out of the flesh, I can't tell. But I know that this man was carried to the 3rd heaven. And he also visited paradise. And he heard wars that were unlawful to be uttered among men. Because those wars are the wars that give men the secret code for creation. When you see some wars, you can come and talk and nations can be altered. That's where nations are conquered from. You hear wars that men have no access to. So that when you come, you too can become an architect of civilization. But you must go beyond beholding to participation. Participation. At that level, you become like an immortal. You will notice that the laws they give you from that realm is the same laws that govern angels. Those are the kind of men that one of them is enough for a territory. God can look at them and say, you go to Northern Ireland. And that man does not need a crusade. He can walk into that city at night. The moment he comes into that city, because he has access to secrets, he will know what to do. He may just come into that city and they will show him the points where the gates of the land is. And he will find that man. He may not talk to anybody, but he will walk around that city 30 days. That's all he will do. He will just walk around the city. You will not know what is happening. That's where cities are conquered. Oh, tomorrow I will show you the protocol of taking territories. The first is prophetic mapping. But you don't, those are not taught. They are caught. Only those who travel far. Is a protocol of Catalambano. You enter, every city have their unique laws. And when you become a litigator, you will know what was said over a land that keeps people disflowered when they are 19. You will know what was said over a land that makes it impossible for people to go to church and serve God when they are 25. You will know what was uttered over a land that made people become corrupt the moment they sit in leadership. Even those who are sent, the moment they become governors, they become criminals. You will know the laws. And so when you come, you will go to the gates. Sometimes you walk for 30 days around the city. And in those 30 days, you may not even be permitted to talk. You can't explain it. It's not doctrine. It's intimacy. It's priesthood at work. Did you not read about Joshua? There's a place for strategy, but there's a place for priest. The Bible said in Joshua chapter 5 from verse 13 to 16, Joshua went alone and he was beholding the city, and suddenly he saw a priest stood with a sword drawn out. This one is not for church. It's not church service. It's for priest. And he looked at him. He knew this place I came is for contention. And he said, are you for us or against us? And the man looked at him and said, nay, I'm neither for you nor against you. I came as a captain of the Lord's host. Anybody who aligns with God, I'm with him. The moment Joshua gave the salute, he looked at him. He began to tell him secrets. He said, this is what you will do. He said, get the whole of Israel. Let them walk around the city once every day for 6 days. Silent. If you talk, you have violated the protocol. Because what you are doing is called Mahanaim. The armies of heaven are trying to resonate with the armies of earth, so that the battle will leave the physical jurisdiction to the spiritual jurisdiction. Utterance is an error. Keep quiet. Just walk around. He said, but on the 7th day, at that point, resonance would have been achieved. When you shout, your shout will not be the shout of men. It will be the shout of the monarch of Zion. Because the way God puts the armies of earth into confusion is by shouting. When he laughs, he said, he that sits in the heaven shall laugh. But before your laughter becomes the laughter of God, for 6 days you need alignment. He said, walk around for 6 days. Once, silent. On the 7th day, let the priest blast the horn. And the moment they blasted the horn, the walls of Jericho sank. This was a wall that was impregnable. History says 7 war horses could run on it. Even houses were built on those walls. There's no way it could be breached. So you don't try to break it. You don't try to climb it. Do something that will make the earth swallow it. And when they shouted, the earth opened her mouth and swallowed the wall. And you run to any soldier, you kill him. At this point, it doesn't matter. Everybody has the same strength. Even the least warrior has become a mighty warrior. And they slew and took over Jericho. Because a man understood legislation and litigation. If it has to do with territory, copy and paste will not work. You must speak frequencies from yonder. Frequency. But only priests can do this. Only priests. Only those who travel in the spirit. Some of us are still at the level of ministering to the Lord. Nothing comes out of us. When we are there, we sleep off. because we can't press. There's no appetite for God. There's no hunger, and we are not dissatisfied with where we are. And so for God to initiate us into priesthood, most times what he does is that he puts burdens in our heart, so that something beyond our needs will begin to draw us, because he wants to raise priests. If you do this, you will never be the same, and territories will be at your mercy.